Previously on the first instalment of the Samantha Wilson interview.
Tell us about yourself.
Well, what I do now is, do you mean about what I'm doing now, Bethany? Yeah.
Yeah, what are you doing now?
Right, so I'm a trainer at the moment doing holistic therapies and beauty therapies. So I train in them particular courses. We have an academy based in Hayward called White Opal Beauty and Holistic Training Academy.
So, why did you want to write the book, My Reluctant Rebels, My Family's Fight for Survival?
Well, the reason why I originally wanted to do the book is because my experiences when I was younger and I was diagnosed with a chronic form of leukemia. And at the time, orthodox medicine couldn't help me, even though I'd had the treatment from them. The prognosis at the time was, my chances of survival were 0. So my parents, thankfully, took me to see a herbalist called Mr. Abbott, and he thankfully started to treat me with herbal medicine. And from there, that was when my journey began of my fight for survival, because my parents chose herbal medicine. Unfortunately, orthodox medicine, the hospitals weren't that keen on my parents' decision to do that. But at the end of the day, my parents had no other choice. They were given a diagnosis that I had no chance of survival. So unfortunately, they had to go against their own beliefs at the time. And luckily, this wonderful man, the herbalist, started to treat me. And from then, I really never looked back. But because my parents had chose alternative medicine, my parents, unfortunately, were constant.
Now, sit back and relax for part 2.
So you mentioned that there was different support when there was in the 70s and the 80s, whereas now.
Yeah.
Can you explain what has happened over the years for parents to receive your support?
Yeah. Well, you will find now, which is amazing, is a lot more people are living healthier lifestyles. So diet's a huge one. People are realizing the effect of too much sugars, too much fats in the diets, and that can cause cancers, diabetes, heart problems, just to name a few. So people are more aware of the dangers of having a poor diet. A lot more people are aware of how safe and how effective alternative medicines are, herbal medicine being one of them. There's lots of other alternative remedies and treatments that are very safe to use, very effective, and can cure diseases.
So when you was receiving this treatment, your parents had to fight for you to not be in school and to receive some form of home education. So do you feel like parents in the 70s and the 80s, they didn't have much authorities, whereas nowadays they have more authority to take children out because it's a risk of their lives?
When it comes to what happened with us, what happened with my parents, how they had to fight for my survival, basically. I don't know whether, if someone might be listening to this interview at some point and they might be in a very, very, very similar situation to us, and they might be thinking, well, God, listen, I've got no hope, so I think a lot more people are more aware of healthy diets and more aware of alternative medicines. And I think a lot more people would look at using an alternative form of treatment to treat various, there's so many different conditions, diseases out there in the world that alternative medicine can help and can cure diseases.
So your new book, Reluctant Rebels: My Family's Fight for Survival. Why did you use that gripping title? What was the meaning behind it?
The reason for it was because, unfortunately, my dad was on the School of Governors at the local school where I was at before I became ill. So he was very much for education. As I said, we parents never questioned orthodox medicine. Parents probably were in favour of it because they didn't know any different. So unfortunately, reluctantly, we went against the system. We went against orthodox medicine. So we became the rebel because we weren't doing what they wanted us to do, or my parents to do. Basically they.
You just went on mute. Sorry. You just went on mute. Sorry. Can you just repeat that answer?
Yeah. Sorry, Bethany. The Reluctant Rebels. The reason why my parents. The reason why we as a family chose that name was because, unfortunately, at the time, my dad was involved with the governors at the school where me and my brother went to, St Margaret's in Haywood, and my father was very passionate about education. And we were like the normal modern day family. We believed in my parents believed in education, believed in orthodox medicine. So we were just like the normal 70s family. But what happened when my parents had no other choice, when I was sent home to die, they unfortunately became reluctant rebels because they had to go against the authorities because they knew this herbal medicine was saving my life. They had to home educate me because I was picking up infection because my immune system was so weak. So, these were things that my parents were quite passionate about: education for the children, for me and my brother, and orthodox medicine. But because of obviously they've seen the other side of what orthodox medicine was doing to me, and they seen how very quickly, I was starting to slowly but surely, my health started to improve. Even when for 3 weeks I was supposed to die, well, I was still there at 7 weeks, and I was slightly getting a bit stronger. But the question, going back to the question, was the reason why we said reluctant rebels. At the time, we ended up being the rebel. My parents had to go against the authorities to save my life, basically.
You've been talking about your parents a lot, so why are your parents still together? Because it sounds like they've been through a lot together.
To be honest, no. Sadly, they broke up when I was 18. And the sad part about that was because my parents and us as a family were never left alone for 8 years and were hunted down. My parents were hunted down like criminals. And that's not a harsh word, that's just being honest. Because they were trying to save my life and hold true to me at the same time, I think it just had such an impact on their marriage because they never had time for themselves, because there was always that threat that, God, Samantha's going to be taken into care. What if she does? Then she doesn't have the medicine, and then will she start to become poorly and dying? So they never had that marriage for 8 years, really, where they had that time, like say your mum and dad, Bethany, you know, went out or something like that on a night out, or like I do with my husband. My mum and with Brian, my husband, with my mum and dad, they didn't have that. And I think it just broke them down in the end. So sadly, they separated when I was 18. But, you know, I mean, my bond with my mum and dad and my, you know, will never change. You know, mum sadly died 3.5 years ago. And that really, really did shock me. And, you know, you never get over something like that when it's your mum, you know. It wasn't, you know, my mum did so much when I was so poorly. And, you know, if I can be 1 ounce of what my mum was, you know, in her life, you know, that would be amazing, because she was a truly inspirational woman.
So you, because your parents split up, did you still have that bond with your parents and stuff?
Yeah, well, my mum and dad split up. I was still living at home with my mum and my brother. I mean, my brother, through all of this with my illness and everything else, he was an inspirational, you know, he was my, trying to think of the word. I mean, he was amazing and he was inspirational, because he went through so much himself for all of this threats with court action and so many different things. You know, he was my rock, really. And I think my brother is still my rock today. But going back to, when my mum and dad split up, I stayed at home with my mum, and my dad moved out, stayed not far away, moved into a place in Bury. But, you know, that bond will never die. I'll always have that bond with my mum and dad.
Do you feel like at some point in your future, maybe a film director or a TV director will read your story and will think, this is such a good and powerful story, we need to tell this into a movie, into a TV show? So who do you think would play you?
Oh gosh, Bethany, I never thought of that. Wow. Gosh, I don't know.
Who would you like to play you? Who's your favourite?
God, Bethany, I don't really know. I mean, you know, if anyone was, you know, if ever, you know, this story could be shared with other people, you know, to help other people in situations that we were in when we had no hope. I mean, if this can help someone, it would be truly amazing, really, if it ever became a film or anything like that. You know, the whole thing about this book is, you know, helping other people, you know, helping people and hopefully, you know, saving people's lives. But if it ever became a film, I don't know. I think it would just be, you know, for someone to actually play my role. It's not an easy role, I think, to take on. I mean, if you've read my book, you know, there's some amazing times, but there was also some very difficult times that we all shared as a family. And, you know, if anyone, you know, could take on that role, you know, to me, that would be a blessing, you know, for that person, that special person to take on that role. You know, I haven't got any particular person that I personally would think that would be the perfect person. I think if it ever became something like that, I think they would know, they would get that right person. I'm sure they would.
So is that your main message behind your book, is to just to keep moving forward and never give up, really? Is that what your book is all about?
Yeah, I think I know personally my experiences, early days, when I was in hospital and so poorly. You know, I met some brave, inspirational young children, you know, that never came out of that hospital. And I always found, you know, if I could, what happened to me, and if I can share my experiences with others, and if I can just, you know, live for today, my main thing is if I can live for today, then beautiful children that were in that cancer ward that never made it, you know, the reason why I always say never give up, well, they had no choice, you know, they died, you know, and I'm here to fight for them, you know, every day that I keep going is for them.
So, one final question. Would you consider writing other books in the future? Have you always had this passion for writing books?
To be honest, no. I've not thought of writing any more books. I just wanted, you know, to share with other people, you know, our experiences as a family. But no, I don't think I'll be bringing many books out in the future. But you know, the reason for this book, you know, was just to, you know, share our experiences as a family, what we experienced and what we went through.
So thank you very much for coming and joining me. Thank you very much.
All right, Bethany, and thank you for taking the time to interview me today.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more amazing content. Goodbye.